Guys, just go on Google Maps, type in 550 California Street. This is like a pretty fat looking, complex. This is like where Wells Fargo's is located. Wells Fargo's actually bought this building because why not? San Francisco before the pandemic had a vacancy rate at less than 1%. Even if you didn't want to be in this building, you could easily rent this out, and people will probably even go into bidding wars. People will probably throw hands just to rent an office in this area. And this is not like the trenches, guys. This is a good part of town. If you zoom out, this is kind of like around like Nob Hill. This is pretty close to water. This is close to Chinatown. This is like kind of touristy with a lot of really cool stuff. And before the pandemic, this was a very high-end place to be. This is where you want to locate your finance companies and your tech companies and your VC guys here. It's right next to Trans America building as well, which is like very iconic. Pretty much like Empire State Building in New York, this building in San Francisco. So this is a high-end location. You even got like a small park here and there. And just a few blocks, you get to the sea, you get to the ferry building, and it's absolutely awesome. Great location, and no wonder Wells Fargo spent so much money buying this building. So Wells Fargo essentially bought this building in 2005 for $100 million. More specifically, $108 million, or around $300 per square feet. And that was back in 2005. And we all know that 2005 to now, property prices have already went up a lot. Now, here's the thing about this building. They actually took a loss despite the building appreciating for 15 to 17 years, 18 years, almost 2 decades of appreciation, and you're losing money on a building. What is this? You could pretty much buy any apartment, any office building in, for example, Japan, China, you go to Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, and you're basically guaranteed to make money in 15 to 20 years. Okay. The appreciation in a lot of those economic places from 2005 to now is insane. You're like doubling and doubling and doubling. But in San Francisco, you're actually losing fat amounts of money. Wells Fargo finally sells this building. They don't want it anymore. Property taxes are insane. Housing insurance is crazy. They're selling the office tower at a $60 million loss. And look at this, right? It was listed last year for $160 million, but it really sold for $40-ish million. So that's a $60 million loss, and they've had this building for over a decade, almost 2 decades. I can't imagine this, okay? You could buy pretty much an ETF, you could buy gold, you could buy so many different types of investments back in 2005, and by now you've probably 3 or 5 extra money. Just not San Francisco real estate. This is like an insane discount here, because when you list it for 160 and you sell it for 40, that's like what, a 75% loss. That's like better than a Black Friday sale on Amazon. And this is like a really good high caliber building. This isn't like a bad building at all. A really good looking entrance, 13 stories, the bones look great. Architecture looks great. There's even a little bit of parking over here. And it's also a detached building as well. This isn't attached with other buildings, so you have more window space. So I'm really surprised it sold for just $45 million. In some places, in like Singapore, for example, $45 million gets you like a little bungalow, like a little house, not like a whole entire office building. And that's what I'm saying here, right? These companies are absolutely furious. They're so mad about what the city has done to property values. And one of the biggest reasons why property values are like this is very simple. The homeless crisis, the fentanyl crisis is out of control. You know what this place is? This place used to be busting with tourism, busting with a lot of people, a lot of office workers. This is going to be Union Square. This is where your mall is. This is where Westfield is. This is where your Nordstrom Rack is. This is where, Bloomingdale's is. AT&T flagship store, Whole Foods, Amazon Go, and this is what it looks like right now. And Twitter is right next to this. I can't imagine being the landlord of the Twitter building. Your building is basically worthless. I want to buy the Twitter building. I want to buy one of these offices. I come here and check out the scenery and it looks like this. I probably won't be buying unless it's like dirt cheap. And that's what's going on, right? These properties right here are basically worthless. Not a single guy will want to buy any of these properties. And I'm really shocked. And so are a lot of landlords and, San Francisco, a lot of these banks, they're really angry and shocked that the city just lets this happen. Like, what kind of first world city just lets scenes like this happen in the middle of the downtown where tourism is supposed to be? This is why nobody's going to San Francisco for a vacation. It looks like this 24/7. People are really scared of going out of their place. Facebook or Meta, I guess, however you want to call it, IBM, they're all relocating their HQs. I mean, constant basis every single day. People are getting hurt. People are on fentanyl. People are addicted to drugs. The city really isn't doing much, right? And San Francisco is a great place. I'm sure people in San Francisco are trying to make the city change, but let's be real, no laws are being forced, right? Tents are everywhere. People are doing drugs everywhere. It's super lax. Shoplifting is basically legal. You could just get away with it. There's even jokes about what's the point of even buying a bag at the Gucci store or Louis Vuitton store when people just rob it and there's no consequences. Look, this new report also shows thousands and thousands of workers have left downtown San Francisco. By thousands, we're talking about 150,000 office workers no longer work in the city because the Bay Area Rapid Transit, or the BART network, is very popular. This is like this massive transit system that connects so many places in the Bay Area. It got like from all the way up here, Oakland, to like Berkeley. You also got all the way here. You got a lot of parts of, southern Oakland, south of San Francisco. There's a lot, and everyone just gets on these trains and then they get dropped off in Montgomery Street. Montgomery Station is like where all the tech workers are. They leave the train, they leave the bus, they start working on these big fat skyscrapers. They work here. And now a lot of these guys are leaving. Okay, nobody's coming here. They lost 150,000 office workers. This is why a lot of these bars around the area and restaurants have experienced very, very low sales. Restaurants are closing not just because of the high crime. In fact, you'll be surprised to see that a lot of restaurants are actually closing because there's not a lot of office workers to come to the place and eat. Office workers, 150,000 of them, when they commute to San Francisco, not everyone just brings their lunch, right? Most people don't bring their lunch. They just eat out. They buy coffee. They buy booze. They shop. This is why a lot of these restaurants in these downtown locations, their rents go for tens of thousands of dollars sometimes for a single month. And now, nobody wants these buildings. People are leaving. People are leaving in massive droves. It's a pretty bad place to be. San Francisco is probably never going to financially recover from this. You got whole buildings selling for 70% off, despite massive appreciation in other areas in over a decade. I mean, look at Manhattan, for example. Look at the property values from 2005 and now. It's a crazy, crazy climb up in value. Same thing with Miami, same thing in Austin. And San Francisco real estate is only going to get worse. Wells Fargo is one of many big corporations in San Francisco that are very displeased about the whole situation. They're very sad, they're very mad, they're very frustrated. People who have hundreds of millions of dollars with their property investments and business investments in San Francisco suddenly see their investments get cut in half or even by like 80% in just 3 to 4 years. If San Francisco really does change things up, I guarantee you these property values will start going up, but there's just no sight of change. We don't know when they'll change, and that's why big stores like Nordstrom are leaving in big droves.